my name is Kasia Mija. I'm the Sales and Project Manager at Kelmesse Inc. I will be moderating today's session. So you were able to all get a quick glimpse of IMM Cologne, and that's why we are here today to talk about the upcoming event. Now I will turn it over to Mette Petersen.
All right, well, welcome everybody. My name is Mette Petersen. I'm president of Kelmesse Incorporated. And I just wanted to take the opportunity to say just a few words of welcome, and then we'll hand it over to the interesting speakers. So as Kasia mentioned, we are the North American subsidiary of Kelmesse GmbH. We are basically the North American sales and marketing arm of Kelmesse in Cologne, Germany. And with that, we promote all of the shows that take place in Cologne and around the world, and primarily all the furniture and design related shows. We are located here in Chicago, and have had operations here for the last almost 18 years actually. So I wanted to share with you just who our speakers are this morning, and I know for many of you afternoon, evening, because I know we have participants from I believe Canada, of course from Germany, from Portugal, from Mexico, so very international audience, which is really terrific. So we will start out with Claire Steinbrück, who is director of IMM Cologne. Claire has been with Kelmesse for about 4 years, and is holding very firm reins on IMM Cologne and everything that happens in conjunction with the show. After Claire, we're going to have two keynote speakers. Our first guest speaker will be Gui Peres with Ergomotion. Gui is Director of Global Sales, and Ergomotion is a manufacturer of adjustable bases for bedroom furniture. And Ergomotion has exhibited at IMM for many years actually, and Guy has very kindly offered to provide his perspective as to the IMM show and what the show has done for them. And after Guy, we are very pleased to also have Myri Budeman join us. Myri is a contributing editor with Interior Design magazine. Myri is actually located in Berlin, and is contributing writer to a number of design related publications in North America, and in particular currently Interior Design magazine. So we're really thrilled to have both of them on board today, and as a matter of fact, Guy will probably be assisted by his colleague Monica down the road as well. So, our agenda today is just very briefly. Claire will give the overview of what is new in relation to IMM with the new hall layouts and events and so on. And then we'll hear the exhibitor perspective from Guy with Ergomotion. And last but not least, Myri has very kindly offered to provide her perspective as an attending member of the media. So with that, let me hand the word over to Claire. Go ahead, Claire.
So thank you very much, and good afternoon from Germany. I'm also in Berlin right now, normally located in Cologne. And so thank you for the introduction and for organizing the webinar, and also for your participation and the time, taking your time to listen to our webinar. Maybe just some words about me. I'm working since 2003 for the trade fair shows, and I've worked 13 years for Messe Frankfurt, and I lived a lot in Germany, but also abroad. And now since 4 years, I'm working for Köln Messe, and my first job was organizing shows abroad and internationally, and now I'm responsible for IMM Cologne in my August the 2nd year. And my passion beside organizing trade fairs is interior design, and I think since I can think, so I think this is the best match that I am doing finally the show, and with the topic that I prefer the most. So what makes IMM Cologne unique? First of all, I think we're all having a very challenging year this year. So more than ever, we are all thirsty to start a new year and to look into the future, what brings and what comes up in this upcoming interior design year. And so IMM Cologne is the first international show who starts every year in January and who shows the trends, the innovations of the year, and is after public holidays the first meeting and business place to see each other again. So what is special beside that we start in January is that we have the full coverage of every category. That means that we're not only the international ones, the most international. We have, I think this year we had 76% of our exhibitors came from abroad, which shows that really the world shows the world what is going on. And this from ready to market and very basic up to very luxury and high end and exclusive brands, and combined with newcomers that are startups and new designers. So this is, I think, very interesting diversity of IMM Cologne. We are driven, and I think this is the future of trade fairs, we are driven a lot about content. It's not only a place where we need to discuss, we need to discover, we need to maybe also edge a bit, that we try with our show to have the vision of future of living, which means to present visionary concepts, to present you maybe new solutions, and to maybe also to provoke in somehow. So this is also something we're working constantly on, is the concept. And what I said also is that we are not only concerning our exhibitor, we are every second visitor who's visiting IMM Cologne is an international visitor. And it is still a very business minded platform where 76% of our visitors have a C-level, and so decisions are taken in January in Cologne. I don't know if I can change. So just here you see some hard facts. We had 1,233 exhibitors this year from 53 countries, and so in the years with the Living Kitchen, we have even a higher quote. We have 11 halls with a full range of products from interior design with 2.6 million square feet. And this year we had the chance to be before Corona, and we had about 130,000 visitors. And maybe also interesting for you is we started and launched in 2019 for 2020 a cooperation with Maison et Objet, also for reason of saying, okay, there is, if we can speak about a supply chain and somehow a supply chain between IMM in Cologne and Maison et Objet in Paris, because you have the whole overage from what is interior design and accessories, etc. And for visitors coming from non-EU countries, so we had this buy one get two, and I hope, and I'm very convinced that we're going to continue that for 2021 too. So you have one trip, and you can see in Cologne the furniture, and then more going into the objects and accessories in Paris. And as I said, we have 78% of our visitors, no, 76, I'm sorry, there's a mistake, but 76% of our visitors are C-level. And every second year, we are together with Living Kitchen, which is an international kitchen show. So in 2021, we're going to take place with the Living Kitchen again. And what is special as well, we have one of the biggest ground floors in trade fair floors in the world, and we are really situated in the city center. So you can see on the other side of the river, you can see the cathedral, and this is, I think, if you ask a Cologne citizen, this is really the heart. So you see we're very close to the heart of the city, which is very charming due to the infrastructure that we are part of, where the people go and where the heart beats. So speaking about IMM Cologne, this is a massive show, which you can see has a lot of space. And I think, and I do believe that in the future, trade fairs are made more and more for business matching. So you need to bring the right people together. And the reason why you come to a trade fair, if you're a visitor or exhibitor, is that you want to reach the right person, the right people. And so when I started working for IMM Cologne, we had a lot of different colors, a lot of different names for every hall, and it was kind of confusing, and it's still very confusing, but we try to bring some structure into it. So if we have like two main sectors, and the blue ones, the pure ones, are the halls you need to see if you want to go into the very exclusive, in this very luxury editorial categories. And so the name for those blue halls are called pure. And if you go to the red halls, we have said, okay, we need to stop to cluster all the halls only in products. The people coming and visiting, they need inspiration, they need interior worlds. So we broke up with this clustered product halls, and we said we're going to make interior worlds, and so divided in clusters for young living and ready to market, and divided in the interiors world like upper middle class, so that visitors and exhibitors can meet in the right interior worlds and somehow. So on the next page, you see like a bit more the cluster. The green living kitchen halls are every second year are the kitchen halls. And we are renovating and building and constructing a lot on our ground floor. And in January 2021, we're going to open a new hall, which is the 1+ hall. And there we're going to launch the topic Connect, because we thought, if we think about future of living, isn't it just too tiny to only think, okay, about a table and a nice chair and a sofa and a bed? We need to think about smart solutions, and also about if we think that home is like the core or the heart of our living, in what kind of future vision is this combined with other branches, which means mobility, infrastructure, health, and of course smart homes. So Connect is in somehow a completely new concept, which we are going to launch in 2021, and showing what kind of branches are connected with our way of living in the future. So next, please. We have in Cologne, we have one colleague, and she is responsible for our VIP visitors and taking care about who's visiting, who's invited, what kind of VIP packages, etc. pp. And we have put some names of the most important target groups concerning visitors, but also the names and brands who came to IMM Cologne for 2020. And we are also very happy that we have a colleague in the US working also for VIP visitors coming and visiting from the US, coming and visiting IMM Cologne. So this is just a short overview. We were speaking about events. So of course you can open a hall and then the exhibitor comes, and the quality of the presentation is very high and it's very inspirational, but I think you need to add a bit more salt. And so that's why we have a variety of different events and special events and content-driven shows. And I think one of the most popular is Das Haus, and this is well, I would say the heart of IMM Cologne, because we have started years ago, we're now in the 10th edition, that we give a very internationally influential designer or a design team the possibility to make their own installation and vision of living. And so it's a very personal idea, and it's very interesting how those designers or this design team interpret and create this installation. So 2 years ago we had, for example, this was my first IMM, we had a young couple from Australia situated in Rotterdam, and they created a house which was divided or which had the name Moods, because they said, why do we have a room which is only for sleeping, another only for a sitting room? I'm spending my day concerning the moods I have. And this was a very innovational, I think, concept to create a house. And celebrating in 2021 the 10th edition, we thought we need to do something new and very special. And we're going to replace the house to Hall 11, which is where the very established luxury brands are placed. we're going to make das apartment house, which the idea is to connect and to reach even more the whole target group of contract and hospitality visitors, due to the fact that we want to present long and short and mid-term apartments. And we want to create that with 3 designers, which we had in the last editions. So Sebastian Herkner, for example, will be Luca Nichetto from Italy will be one of the designers. And we have 2 innovative sponsored apartments where we showcases those apartment solutions. So, and this is also how a trade fair needs to develop, because we need to think, okay, what kind of target group is developing, what kind of, it's also business matching and somehow, because we need to bring new, maybe transforming from the classic visitor to maybe a not new target group. We had new moments, which were installation and windows with trend windows. We had also sustainability was a huge topic in the last years, especially last year with Greta, where we had an installation where we were speaking and showcasing the topic of sustainability in material, but also in multifunctional material on long living. And this was a showcase with a pilot which were dedicated to furniture designed in Germany, but we will transform it and make it a bit different in 2021. Maybe you can make the next chart. We have the whole N9, which is dedicated to the whole topic of sleep. So we have there also like a communication platform. We had the pillow talk. We have launched in 2020, because the last days of IMM Cologne are B2C days. So we had in one hall, we said, okay, what would be interesting for design lovers from B2C, from the B2C sector. And so we launched together with the Blickfang a festival, which was called Design Fest. And we had workshops and bloggers coming there, and you could also buy at the small booths stuff. And so this is also in somehow one category which also accomplish a full range of different options. And last but not least, a very interesting event was Let's Be Smart, Smart Village, where we created 3 different worlds and showcases and showing different products in the home sectors for smart living. And we had, and sometimes you don't even see what is smart or what is not smart. So we had guided tours, and they were reserved from the first minute on, because it was really interesting to see those visionary and maybe even not so visionary showcases, which have already entrance in our homes already yet and now. And so speaking about a very well, challenging topic is COVID-19, which has made the impossible possible. And we have put a quote of our CEO, because we will restart with our shows in September. We have worked out very strongly with other German trade fair companies, with Land Nordrhein-Westphalia, with a huge group of experts. How can we, with or after Corona, make trade fairs and bring people together? And the safety, to be safe, is the most important thing that we all aim and that we want to protect. But I do believe that human being is like water, and that we find our ways, and that we need to find ways how we continue with this challenge of COVID-19. And I do believe that we need to meet and to feel. And honestly, I would prefer to see you in person than seeing you only in tiny black or in tiny videos. Because I do believe that the importance of meeting people and face to face and to reach the 5 senses is still untouchable. And so we have worked out to restart the business, a Be Safety business campaign, with measures, with rules, and how we can organize with safetiness for everyone trade fairs. So we start with the first show in September. We're going to have Orgatech in October. So myself, I am glad that I'm not the first show starting, so that we have at least a learning curve, and that we can see, okay, and what do we maybe need to develop better, or what worked already good. And I don't know how it is in the US, but in Germany, I couldn't imagine to sit in a restaurant some weeks ago. Now I do sit in a restaurant. I couldn't imagine to drive again I had to take a train. I came to Berlin with a train. So there is a new normal, and I do believe that we need to work and to fight for this new normal, because it's, for me personally, there is no option to sit isolated in a home office corner and to stay separated from people. So that's our vision. Beside vision of living, future of living, is the vision. Yes, we take place, and we look forward to see you all again, or to meet you.
Great, thank you so much, Claire.
You're
Now
welcome.
would be a great time to address any questions you may have. As a reminder, you can write them into our chat room or the Q&A. You will see both icons at the bottom of your screen. So far, I don't believe I see any questions, but we'll take a minute, and if not now, we can always address questions at the end. So far, nothing. Okay, I guess we will go ahead and move on. I don't see anyone typing. We'll continue with the presentation. All right. So our main speaker from Ergomotion is Mr. Gui Peres, as Meta already had introduced him in the beginning. And Gui is based in the US headquarters in California, but also joining him this morning or afternoon for Monica is Monica Araújo, who's based in Europe, in Portugal. For those of you who don't know Ergomotion, well, Meta already provided a very nice introduction. They're headquartered in California. They have international offices in Europe and China, and they have been exhibiting at IMM Cologne, again, as a reminder, since 2008. So the 2021 edition will mark your 13th year with us. So thank you for being our valued exhibitor. And last but not least, Ergomotion distributes in over 30 different countries. Gui and Monica, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us.
Yes, it's a pleasure.
So Gui and Monica, tell us about your first IMM Cologne. Gui, you have a pretty interesting story. So maybe kick off with that and tell us what was your strategy going into your very first IMM Cologne, and what were your expectations?
Thank you for having us today. It's a pleasure. I do have a special connection to IMM. I've been going to IMM since 2008, as Kasia said. And it's been good for us. It's been very good for us. The very first time we went, we were a startup. The company got started in 2007. I got hired in January 8th, 2008. And 3 days into the job, I had to go to Cologne for this trade show. We actually don't have a picture of our booth, and I'm glad we don't, because it was very, very simple back then. We were a very young company, a startup. We barely had money to pay for the show. So yeah, third day on the job, I'm at IMM for 7 days, and it was a great show. It was a great experience. We learned a lot from it. And what our strategy was, we wanted to try to tap into the European market going into IMM. But what actually happened, which really surprised us, is we met people from all over the world. We actually opened an account in Chile and an account in Australia because of IMM Cologne. And eventually we were able to land some European accounts as well. So it was a great experience, and we got pleasantly surprised of how international the show is.
Wonderful. So Gui, how did you promote your brand after your first few editions of exhibiting at IMM Cologne?
So we're an adjustable bed based manufacturer. We focus on the adjustable beds. So we tend to sell to the mattress manufacturers. And that's how we were promoting the brand as a component to your mattress. That worked very well in the US, but we had to make some adaptations for the European market. In the US, mattress manufacturers traditionally weren't manufacturing adjustable beds. In Europe, to our surprise, which we learned during the show, is that a lot of the mattress manufacturers also manufacture their adjustable beds. So it's a little bit of a different concept. So we had to pivot and change the way we marketed, which eventually worked. And we started getting some results with some additional adjustable bed offerings to the current adjustable beds that these European mattress companies were offering, so that our product could fit in as a more niche, American-looking, furniture-looking kind of product. So so IMM allowed us to notice that the European market was a little bit different than the US market.
And how was it? Seems like your brand was very well received. Did you say you already found some top clients at the very first edition of IMM?
Yes, it was well received, and I'll let Monica comment on that because she's our director of marketing. Monica, what is your what comments would you like to make about the reception of our brand in Europe?
Well, Guy is working with us since the beginning. I'm more recent in the company, but what I felt is the European market and the international clients that visited the IMM Cologne are searching innovation, and what we feel is when we show our innovation in the adjustable basis and our new sleep technology and the smart system, is these kind of things that clients are searching in this type of exhibitions, as Claire told us during the presentation. So what we are trying to do is during the IMM, using this opportunity to create in our booth some experiential areas to show to our clients and to give the opportunity to test our products. And the feedback that we received for the client is very positive, because they can visit IMM and they can find some different new solutions and new products for the sector. So yeah, it's very positive for us.
That's great. And going back to also what he said before, you obviously had to make adjustments to fit into the European market. How long of a process was that?
Yeah, that was early on. So we've shown at IMM pretty much almost not all of them in the last 12 years since I've joined the company, but most of them. There were actually some years that we had to say, hey, let's not show this year because there's a lot of adapting we have to do, right? There is a learning curve, you know. I like to say that I used to run the international market for the company. Now I run US as well. So I used to be more focused on international. And I used to say that, you know, you should focus more on the similarities than on the differences between the US and the international market, because there's a lot more similarities than there are differences. But it gets to a point that you do have to focus on those differences and adapt and pivot. So to answer your question, Kasia, it probably took us about 3 to 4 years of showing there and looking what the local market was doing. And maybe we could have done it quicker if we had more resources, but just the fact that we were there showing for a few years, we learned a lot. And there's again, what does the local market do? How do they sell? Go visit their stores to see what's the reality in the store. Like, I'll give you an example. We work with mattresses. In Holland, when you go buy a mattress, you sit down and you have like an espresso or a latte with the salesperson. Whereas in the United States, everything is quick. You walk in, you're there for maybe 20, 30 minutes and you walk out. In Europe, it can 2-3 hour sales process. So you have to adapt to that. It's the same thing during the show. European visitors and some of the international visitors expect you to serve them coffee, serve them lunch, and spend some quality time with them. Whereas in America, things are a little bit more fast-paced and quicker and more, let's call it more practical. In Europe, you need to be a little bit more on giving your time and your resources on the front end before you see the results. So it took us a few years to figure that out, but we did. Now, basically because of IMM and because of the success we've had in Europe and Russia and the Middle East, we have very good business in Europe, Russia, Middle East, which we include as part of Europe, right? Our company. We opened an office in Eastern Europe about 6 years ago. We have a smaller office in Portugal now. By the way, Portugal is awesome. Everyone visit our office, you're welcome to come there. And physical presence.
I think we lost your connection. Can you say the last couple of sentences? You're talking about your European offices, both in Portugal and Eastern Europe?
Yeah, correct. We have an office. Yeah, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have an office in Eastern Europe and now in Portugal as well, and with about 10 employees. So IMM was certainly important for us to develop the European market, learn it, and establish our presence there.
That's fantastic to hear. I mean, oftentimes we have manufacturers from North America who are very interested in the show. They're very interested in exhibiting, and sometimes they do. And after the first experience, they ask themselves a question: what now? What's next? So it's very helpful to have you guys and to kind of give those kind of companies an encouragement that it's a process, right? It's all about just learning the market, and maybe if you could give a few words of encouragement to such companies who would be interested in potentially showing at IMM, what kind of tips would you give to those companies who are ready to grow internationally but just don't know how to start, where to start?
So you said it best, Kasia. It's a process. You cannot expect to go to IMM and in the first trade show, have a lot of sales come out of it. You're probably going to have to go there a few times. So that's tip number one. Show there a few times, learn it, adapt it, improve your booth. You'll see that the booths in Cologne are much nicer than the ones we see in the US. You can see here in the pictures how from 2016 to 2020, how our booth evolved and became better. You just have to have a nice booth. Europeans are a lot more aesthetic and design oriented than North Americans are. So it's a process, and you have to learn it, and you have to be there for a few years. The other thing is, what I like to preach is focus on the similarities. There's a lot of things that are the same between the European market and the US market. People like to be treated fairly. People like to buy beautiful products. They like to buy for a good price. If you focus on the things that work for both markets, that's a good start. And then once you figure that out, try to see, but what are the differences here? And it's going to be different with every, I work with mattresses and adjustable beds. If you work with case goods or interior design, you're going to have to figure that out on your own.
Well, thanks so much for your feedback. And maybe just the last question, in terms of going back to your post-show follow-up, did you make any trips to Europe to potentially see your clients that you have met at IMM? How did you work with establishing those relationships?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes, absolutely. Not only did we go back to follow up with the customers, which is very important. You got to go visit them in their hometowns and take them out to dinner and all that. Obviously, that's part of doing business. It's important for you, if you're committed to expanding in the European market, to start a local operation. Even if it's hiring one sales rep, you have to go back, you have to follow up, and you have to establish your presence in Europe for sure.
Great, wonderful. Well, thank you so much again for being with us. I think that concludes my little Q&A session with both of you and Monica. And thanks again for being our valued exhibitor, and we look forward to having you back this coming January.
Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right, any questions that anyone would like to address at this point? Again, as a reminder, you can write them in our chat room. And if there's no questions, we will go ahead and continue with our last speaker for the day. Our last speaker for the day is Myri Beautyman. As Meta had introduced her in the beginning of the session. Myri, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. This is fun.
Great. So Myri's she's a freelance journalist for the Interior Design magazine and based in Berlin. She's been to IMM Cologne multiple times. How many years have you been coming to IMM, Myri?
I have been coming to IMM since 2007 was my first year. I think I have been to a total of 8, but to be honest, I've lost track.
Great. So as you can see on this slide, Myri also covers other European design shows, and she'll talk to us in a moment which ones she attends. So you've answered our first question. I'll go ahead to the next one. Since you do attend other European shows, including the show in Paris, Maison Objet, and I Saloni in Milan, can you maybe start off with telling us how different is IMM Cologne from these shows?
Sure. Well, just one sentence about myself. I was working in Europe 5 years for Interior Design magazine, and then I became a freelancer by running away to Europe. I write for several different design magazines, but interior design has always been a big client of mine. So in terms of going to the other shows, the difference between Paris and Milan, there is of course a regional focus on product at these fairs. So in Germany, you're going to see a lot of fantastic German design, in Italy, Italian, and Paris, French. So the other thing is that Milan is really the big fair, and you're always going to see big launches from everyone there. And in IMM, it's mostly going to be German launches, though there are increasingly a lot of other manufacturers that are using that platform to launch as well. At Maison and Objet, there's a lot of tabletop and decorative items. And in Milan is all encompassing, whereas IMM, the main focus is residential, but that is also branching out into hospitality increasingly and the office, since both are also getting more residential.
Great. And Myri, why is it important to you, for you to be at IMM Cologne? Why do you continue to come and cover the show?
As a journalist covering design trade shows, I'm always looking for freshly launched products, innovations, and trends. IMM is the first furniture show of the year and also one of the biggest. And as it is an important fair in the industry for the magazines I represent, coverage of it is also important.
Great. Now the next question for you. What can North Americans who attend IMM take away from this show that they would not see in the US or Canadian shows?
The vibrant European design scene. Naturally at IMM, it's going to be a focus on what is really Europe's economic powerhouse. So that's Germany. Quality and craftsmanship are the pillars of the Made in Germany stamp. The majority of German manufacturers, as well as several other high-profile European manufacturers, they're going to use IMM for their launches. So it's a really good tool to glean an understanding of what's upcoming in the product design field in Europe and Germany. Then also, as you mentioned earlier, Das Haus. This is the annual concept home, and every year built by a young designer. Though this year I understand it's going to be a bit different with the apartment concept. This is a really big deal from a journalistic standpoint, because you're going to see a hot young talent, and it's exciting. I always like to see what the new products are going to be in the house. There tends to be innovation and always something a little bit surprising. And so I'm always going to be following that designer as the years go by as well, from their debut in Das Haus.
Great. It's definitely an attraction and the buzz of the show.
Yeah, and actually it's interesting because Moot Design this year did outside in the merger of those spaces. And now with COVID-19, you know, there is a big focus being outside because it's safer. So I think kind of accidentally, the DOS House of 2020 was really relevant.
Great. We actually have some designers and architects as well as manufacturers joining us this morning. What would you say to those who have never been to IMM Cologne?
Well, it is a big show, so there's always a schedule. It comes in handy to provide method to the madness, organize your hit list. I would say that what I always look out for, which is always particularly interesting, is of course DOS House, but also whenever any designer speaks, I'm always curious about what the designers have to say. So I make that a priority. One thing that I've actually started to do recently is I've downloaded a bike share app, and I end up biking to the fair, and that way you get a memorable journey over the Rhine, and maybe you can then eat another Himmel and Erd, which is a traditional local blood sausage and mashed potatoes, and wash it down with more Kirsch beer. So,
and burn it off with riding back to your hotel, right?
Exactly.
Great, great. Well, thank you, Margaret, for being with us. That concludes my questions, my little Q&A session with you. Thank you for for attending IMM Cologne and for covering the show. And then we'll go ahead and take any questions if there are any. Okay, I think we answered everybody's questions this morning. Well, if you have any questions, post our presentation. Here's our contact information for our staff in North America, based out of our Chicago office. Myself and two of my colleagues, Franz Balve and Leslie Flack, we can address any questions you may have related to either exhibiting or visiting the show. So here's our contact information, and we look forward to hearing from you. You can call us, email us. You can find us through our social media channels. You also see the links on the slide that we're showing right in front of you. And as I'm talking, I think we got one question. We have one question, actually. Great, thank you. Before we end, will home offices play a bigger part at next IMM Cologne? So I guess that's a question for you, Claire, if you can help us answer.
Yes, of course it will. We have the focus on future of work is dedicated to Orgatech, but of course the topic, and as there is no clear separation, and due to Corona, we are all working at home, so this is going to be a topic, of course, at IMM Cologne.
I would love to add to that one if I could.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so I mean, it is a very trying time, but it is also an exciting time in terms of what the future holds. And I think from a design standpoint, in the home office, we're going to see more of a dedicated space. Working from the kitchen table in an uncomfortable kitchen chair with noisy children or spouses or dogs running around is no longer going to be realistic. So we're going to see a focus on acoustical paneling and noise absorption, and this is going to have to be a space in the home that is really only for home office working now. So that is something I see going forward, particularly with big companies moving their entire workforce to the home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now going back, Myri, to you coming to IMM, do you also visit Living Kitchen, or do you primarily focus on IMM?
Yes, I do Living Kitchen as well. Yep, and Orgatech, I go to the other fairs as well.
Fantastic, great. All right, let's see if we have any
maybe we should just sorry to just add a comment, since Orgatech was brought up. Maybe we should just add, for those who are not familiar with Orgatech, that it's our office furniture show, focuses on facilities management and everything related to the work environment. And that show takes place every 2 years in Cologne, whereas of course IMM Cologne is every year in January. So just wanted to add that for clarification.
Great, thank you, Meta.
And I have one last thing, maybe also one of my projects I like the most is the Pure Talent Contest. And this is a contest for students who are graduating, or the young designers. And I think we had about 1,000 drafts who were sent in, and there's a very nice jury who took care of those entries. And we have the 20 finalists to present their products. And I think, speaking about, okay, will home working or mobile working be part of IMM Cologne? I'm really curious about what is moving this next generation. And I always had the pleasure to meet those 20 people or finalists, and they presented their products, and they have a very clear and very innovative perspective on seeing things. And even maybe they weren't sitting home and having maybe children and dogs, but I think that this topic, how will we work in the future, will I'm for sure also inspire some of the finalists who will be presented at the Pure Talent Contest in 2021.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, if there aren't any more questions or comments, we'd like to thank you once again for being with us today, and we look forward to seeing you at IMM Cologne 2021, January 18th through the 24th.